Bola Ijoma Obusawo. I am simply a herbalist. Of course, I'm also a naturopath. I am the CEO and founder of BioNaturals. My major job is to help people prevent diseases and get better at whatever their health situation is now. The journey actually started in 2014 when I lost my dad. Suddenly lost my dad. And along the way, he was in hospital for like almost 2 months. And at some point, one of the doctors told us that because he was on a particular painkiller for so long, so the painkiller affected his organ. And the funny thing, my dad was warned not to use the painkiller, but he said, he couldn't stop, that the pain was unbearable. So that's when he died. I had this wake up call that how can medicine cause death? I studied biochemistry, but I never imagined that we'll have such. So that made me to think, and then I started doing research. And along the line, I found out that there was a whole world of natural alternative, and that was where the research started. So from there, I shifted everything about my life as at that time, from the business I was doing to researching on natural alternative and working with. So, of course, before my master's, I've taken a couple of programs, herbal related and natural health related. So when I heard, even in Unilag, so I'm taking an advanced diploma on herbal medicine. So it was from that herbal medicine I found out that they were doing their master's. They had a master's program. Because I had a biochemistry background, of course, it was easy for me to apply for that. And so that was how I landed in the master's program. We now have doctors who will tell you that, especially recently, a friend of mine who is also a herbal doctor she had a reason to go to the hospital to see a surgeon. And of course, she had this, she developed a goiter, she developed goiter. So of course, she was treating it naturally with her herbs, but she went to the hospital, which is what we do these days. She went to the doctors to check. So they saw it when it was. So when she went back, it was no more there. So the surgeon was telling her that, oh yeah, he is a surgeon too, but he doesn't really. He uses more of herbs and this thing. So apart from that, COVID actually was something that really came to change the story. And right now, WHO even recognizes herbal medicine. As a matter of fact, my medicine masters was sponsored by WHO. So presently, and then to summarize it all, to answer your question, for every pharmaceutical drug that you have that is already existing, the origin is herbal. It's from plants. So the difference is just that they can either they take a copy. If it's something they cannot isolate, because what they do is they identify the constituent in the plant that is giving them that property, and then they isolate it and turn it to drug. Or if it's easier for them to just look at the structure and do a synthetic copy. So you cannot take herbal medicine out of modern health or this. So it's a strong place, and it's high time that we start. People start recognizing it. I'll stop them to ask for that question. And so you see, herbs actually contains different constituents. That means different what we call phytochemicals. Is part of these phytochemicals that the pharmaceutical companies extract and then isolate. But there are a lot of others. And they complement each other. So most times when they isolate, you have other parts that are supported. So, and then apart from that, herbal medicine actually deal with issues from the root cause. You will find out that most symptoms people are facing, some are facing maybe heart issues, some are facing head issues, different kind of things, may just be tied to one particular root, maybe digestive issues. So if you get the herbal formulation or herb that solve a digestive issue, you'll be surprised that it will solve many other issues that people are feeling at different times. So most times herbal medicine is about treating the root cause. So when you get an expert, a good herbal doctor that looks at the root cause, you'll be so, and because most of these diseases have one root cause. So it's real. That's one reason why they say herbal medicine is good nation. Secondly, I said they have a lot of constituents. Each of those constituents may be doing one thing or the other. Either they are supporting, but they are supporting one particular thing, or even so it's possible. But of course, those claims most times are ambiguous, can be ambiguous. So you have to make sure that whatever, even as experts, actually, as professionals, we don't just come and make such ambiguous claim like that. You have to be cautious when you make such claim. But there's a possibility. I just try to explain the possibility of it doing more than one thing. Okay, so one of the things I learned is that some of these common herbs that we play around with that people just jump to, I found out that some of them they has to be taken with caution. Some of them are not what people are saying. I mean, people think, it's easy to. Some of these common things, I don't start mentioning them. Maybe later we can talk about. But some common herbs, zobo, even your bitter leaf, your moringa, that people just think that they all have some cautions around them. So I found that out during my masters. Of course, there are others I found out before my masters, and then I also found out that even in herbal medicine right now, there are a lot of things that we need to actually begin to do for us to preserve our herbal sources. Most especially in Nigeria, a lot of us are just doing what we call wild crafting. I mean, you just pick, nobody's planning to replant, and at the end of the day, after years, if you take them all out, what we will have. So masters taught me that. I mean, I learned that from my masters. It's something that I've overlooked, but I think that was one of the things that I got during my masters. It's simple. A lot of these conventional medicines are not really solving the problems of people. They are coming with a lot of side effects. And honestly, I mean, when you go to the clinic these days, before you are done explaining what's wrong with you, the doctor is already prescribing. But one of the duties of herbal medicine is to sit down. I mean, herbal practitioner is to sit down and listen to you. And when we listen to you, we are trying to understand where the root problem is coming from. So it's not something we can just start prescribing. You don't generalize herbal medicine. So as a matter of fact, first, herbal medicine is not a side. It was the original. So people feel more comfortable with it because a lot of us, maybe not this Gen Z generation, but a lot of us grew up with some form of herbal things, that our grandparents used, whether for blood or to treat malaria at some point, and it didn't kill any of us at that time. So somehow people are more confident, especially also with the side effects that is, like I just told you, my dad died of complication of using a particular medication. And so, of course, this is now becoming rampant. A lot of people are, so we have someone like my mom now would rather use herbal medicine than. So this is the reason. And then during COVID, we watched COVID. I mean, we watched people die in the hospitals. So, but we also saw that herbal solutions was helping a lot of people. So, I mean, that's what now spiked the use of herbal medicine now. So, first of all, get a professional. Let's even forget about, you see all this self-medication. Like I told you, one of the things I found out in my master's program was a lot of these things that we think, the moment you are converting it, if you are eating it as food, you don't have a problem. But the moment you start what we call extraction. You are putting it in water, you are infusing it in water, even in honey, anything you are infusing it, you are extracting the active ingredient, the phytochemicals. It becomes medicine. So if you are really looking for safety, and for every herb, the fact that herb is natural doesn't mean it's safe. We have herbs that are harmful. Like when I said what I said, I actually had a thesis or a project that I worked with a formulated herbal medicine for diabetes precisely. And what we wanted to do, we wanted to check the efficacy and the effect on the organs. So after feeding the animals for some time and then inducing diabetes and then treating them, and we had different doses of those things. We found out that in the high dose it was harmful to the kidney and the liver, or to the liver and the pancreas and even the kidney. So, and these are common herbs that we use every day. So for every herb, there's a story around it. So even if you're an expert or you have learned it from your parents that okay, use this, at least with your own education right now, do a little bit of research on every plant you want to take. That's for you who says I can deal with this thing myself. Before you go into it, search it. Look for the first thing you should be looking for before you use anything is the toxicity, the caution around those plants. So once you find that, then that would guide you in using it. So that's the simple way. First, find an expert. Another simple way. Now, why is it difficult to identify an expert? For example, anybody that wants to recommend something to you, if you have an health issue, should be able to explain to you why you should use it. So when you listen to somebody explain to you, you know whether the person knows what she's saying or not. That's another simple way to know who you can safely work with. But it's very important to always consider safety because there is a lot of danger right now with the use of herbs. So as good as it is that people are beginning to turn to natural, we also need to be very cautious of safety. So I'd like to demonstrate something to you. in this particular place. Let's see. So I've got some herbs. So, but before I do this demonstration, I'll tell you something. So, ordinarily, herbal medicine all over the world, we have it in different cultures. We have heard of traditional Chinese medicine, right? You've heard of Ayurvedic medicine. We have Unani medicine. You have even Western medicine. You have them all over. The- what they portray to the world, that a lot of scientific validation has come on them, had nothing to do with spiritual. So based on, I mean, when you come into to the scientific aspect as a somebody who studied masters, everything that I am taught is that there is phytochemistry, there's constituents inside. But as a human being, and as one who actually comes from a lineage of herbal practitioners, you know, I understand something, and even as a naturopath, so there's a different. The herbalism is actually under naturopath. In naturopath, we believe that human beings are whole, and their body, mind, body, and spirit. So you can't take the spirit away from. Now, what we now African medicine most times has been what do we call it? Mystified in it. Now, I said I was going to illustrate something. A a babalao of those days will take this plant and say things like, oh, I don't know how they do it, but I don't know how they do it, but I just know that what they are saying is words. And I understood this from one of the licensed places I went to, traditional bloodlines, and they said that, these things are just words. For example, there's a plant, tomatoes that we know, the they call it in Yoruba something like onitikoti. So a herbal practitioner or a traditional person, what he does, he goes to that plant and calls the name as onitikuti. That means somebody or something that pushes things to you. Then go and talk to that plant and say onitikuti, ti ire mi, or push my wealth, or push something to me. What has he done? He has just spoken words. You get? Now, as a Christian, I am a Christian herbalist. When I prepare formulations for people, I take these herbs and I say that science says that you do this, you do that. And I know that God also created you for human purpose, for health purpose, for strength for human. Now I speak to you as a plant because I also know that you are a living thing. Go forth and do this and this in this body, or go and do this in any body that is taking you. Maybe, for example, you have to solve the inflammatory problems going on in that place. So therefore, when you go there, you solve that problem. You help the person relieve pain. You help the person, you know, do some diuretic purposes, and just mention all the things I want you to do that I have also labeled that he does in the plant. I mean, that's spiritual. Jesus Christ himself said, the words that I speak is spirit. So there's no mysticism. There's nothing. I mean, now for the Babalao, they believe in Ifa or Shango or something. So they call me, that I believe in Jesus. I can now end that statement by saying in the name of Jesus. But the truth is that the spirit there is what I have spoken. And that plant goes and I get the results I want. So that's me putting the spirit and the physical together and I get my results. So, okay. So first of all, I believe they can complement each other. But from what I know or what I've seen as a natural practitioner, complementary medicine, I mean your conventional medicine actually is very good for emergency management. For situations where like somebody's having a headache, maybe the headache is unbearable. You want to just use something to, or somebody had an accident and you need a surgery to, that kind of thing. And herb actually goes and work on the body from the roots. So I believe that they could complement each other. But the only thing with that is we must all, both this doctor and the herbal practitioner, must also understand the interaction between the two. So there must be spacing so that you don't have many reasons for that. And that's why we have to get there, because in China they do have clinics that have natural medicine and then the conventional medicine. They have them together and they met. So the doctor can see you and say, okay, you belong here. And for chronic diseases, most times, most of these chronic are handled by natural medicines. You know, conventional medicine, The truth is that they can complement each other, but we must understand how to do it because there's a lot of issues which is already happening and causing problems for people now because people are using conventional medicine. You know, Nigerians, they are just monochrome. They are ready to, so they are using conventional medicine, they are using herbal medicine together, and then they are complicating their health. You know, because you have, for example, a herb can have an hypotensive effect, and that person is using an hypotensive medicine like your high blood pressure medication, and then you use it together, that thing can go and drop that person's blood pressure rapidly, and that can bring you to a low blood pressure issue, which is even more dangerous than the high blood pressure. So you can't combine, and the same thing happens with diabetes and many of all those. So whoever is doing it must be very. I mean, everybody, your doctor must be aware, and you, the health, the herbal, also has to. So we have to come to the point where it becomes structured. Not now that the patient is afraid of telling the doctor is using herbal medicine. And that's because the doctor is saying, oh, drop all those things, they're not working. The doctor is also not looking at the, meanwhile, the medicine you are giving is also not solving the problem. And so the patient would rather, let me use this. So the reason why we have to work together is because to save the patient, you know. So I think we have come to that time when we have to do that. There are really herbs that can help improve both women and men's health, reproductive organ or sexual health. But I also know that a lot of products that are out there that gives you quick answer. Some of them are mixed with synthetic drugs and they are dangerous. Now, a true herbal formulation, depending on the stage, you know, the truth is that most times as a herbal practitioner, you are more interested in the cause because that place not functioning properly is just a symptom. So a true solution is to deal with the cause. So gradually, that part of the system will function properly. But when you have something that just comes and give you, you may want to be cautious about it. There, so you know, if the situation is not far gone, you might get a quick result. But you see, if it's something that's gone and you use something and it happens fast, you might want to be cautious about it. But really, truly, there are herbs that can actually solve those problems. But those herbs, most times, they work from, you know, gradually, and it really happens. And we have cases that happens fast. Depending, that's why these things are not individual. In herbal medicine, we don't treat everybody as the same. We are all different individuals and we have different issues. So our issues are looked at individual. But truly, a solution to actually have this aphrodisiac thing is looking natural, looking at the natural alternative, but doing it safely. Not everything that you have out there is actually safe. Some of them are synthetic, I mean, mixed with synthetic, which is quite harmful. So that's my take on that. Okay. So, first of all, herbal medicine is a traditional practice that have been practiced for years and years and years. So if you are from a community in Nigeria, you can even do your research about what they've been using in your community and what it's been doing, and you will know what to believe or not. Then another thing you can do is learn how to research. Funny enough, all these things are, you have research papers that you can go online and really check. So, and what we do is to take those claims and scientifically validates them. So when you go to a research paper on a particular herb, you will find out that they will, for example, you will have herbs that will say pharmacological actions based on the research. And it will list the things that it can do. By the time you do read 4 to 5 research papers and they are all saying the same thing that this herb can do, this herb can, then you know that that herb can really do that. That's a safer way to actually handle that than just taking the claim, you know, because something might actually work for somebody in a particular way based on what is happening to that person, which might be different from what is happening to somebody else, and it won't work for that person. So that's the thing, that's the reason why you can't just jump at using herbal medicine. You need a professional too, seriously. Because even in those days, they had specific traditional herbal healers. It was not the whole house that was, when there was an, of course there are simple issues that are like acute, maybe somebody's running nose, okay, you know that you can use a ginger, you can use a thyme. But when you have complex situations, you go to, then in those days you go to those that are known for, you know, those that the community have identified as the herbal um, practitioners. So it's the same thing now. You can't now go online, which is what is happening. Somebody comes online and says, hey, if you take this herb, it will cure your high blood pressure. It will cure your, it's danger. I've had enough of my, I mean, enough patients or people that have had consultation that got into trouble from taking advices from people online. The truth is that it's just marketing strategy. They want you to, they are only giving, some of them are just giving half truth. Some are just doing it for the essence of content. Nothing more. So, and they really don't care. They don't have anything to lose. It's you that is listening and go and jump. So, my brother, my sister, I advise that you get an expert before you start using herbal medicine to treat anything. Right. So, number one, my first role that I would love to play is to also put African traditional medicine in the global world. Just the way we hear TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, the way we hear Ayurvedic medicine, I also want to put African traditional medicine to the global world. That's number two. That's number one. Number two, I want to educate Africans starting from Nigeria and I mean all over the world, anybody that is using herbs, I want to educate them in the right way. And that's why I have these trainings that I train people on how to use herbal medicine or how to do essential oils, different things. And I mean, the training is on and on. There are many others that I'm going to cover. So this my second aim is to make sure that people are well informed because I don't want to what really drove me and that this brings me to my main aim. It's not I'm calling it thought, but it's actually what led me into this space, which is to help people because my father died. So the main aim was first, I didn't want to see my mom go through the same thing because she was I mean they were living together, so they had the same lifestyle and she was already manifesting some of the symptoms was manifesting. So my main aim was to help her prevent it, help myself prevent, I mean prevent such situation for me and then my siblings and of course the world at large. So I really am an advocate for prevention first. So I do a lot of education in that space because most of these diseases that we are facing, I mean, that we are having, they are things that are preventable. So if you listen to me, if you follow me, I will advise you a lot. And if you just take those advice, you'll be strong and healthy and you prevent most diseases. So these are my the roles I want to play in herbal medicine. So like I said, I am the one behind Bio Naturals. So on Instagram, you'll find Bio Naturals NG. The same on Facebook. On YouTube, I have my name. I think Bukola Ogusowo on YouTube. Maybe you will share. I can give you the links, and then of course I also have a website where you will find products. And of course, all of these links, most of them will also link you to my WhatsApp business page, so you can always reach me. And some of my products, my passion, I mean, my baby products that I've loved, I started with, and I still love them because they make the world easy. They make the use of herbal medicine easy. Is essential oils. You know, they are actually one of the strongest form of herbal medicine and they're easy to use. I don't even have to drink something that is bitter. I just need to inhale it. Like I have myself burning some essential oils there. It's giving me energy. It's improving my mood. And then these oils can take away headaches, can take away pains. I mean, they can do a whole lot by just maybe using it topically, inhaling. So I really love and talk a lot about essential oils. That's just so I have different type of essential oils. Of course, we also do herbs and we do herbal formulations. Like if somebody's already having a health condition, probably after consultation, I do customize treatments. And then of course we have some generalized herbal formulations too. Whichever way, we have a lot. Anyway, when it comes to your health, just hit my buttons or my social media pages. If you, after you have watched what I've spoken about, especially on my YouTube, just reach out to me. I'll help you in any way. So thank you.